Hello everyone, Manny here from Glasshammer Gaming, and today I'm here to walk you through the best things about the brand new Black Templars Codex. If you haven't already, guys, hit that subscribe button and notifications bell in the corner over there so you know each time we release one of these videos. Right, let's go straight into it then. This is the new Black Templars book. I've got to say, just to start off with, I'm so disappointed in this front cover. I think it's like really outdated. I think they could have taken the same artwork and like revamped it, redone it. A bit disappointed with that. I mean, the back looks wicked. If the back was the front, personally, I'd be happy because I think that matches the grim dark of the Black Templars. That to me does not, that's not grim dark enough for Black Templars, but that's just me. Right, let's get to the important stuff then. The best things about the Black Templars Codex. First of all, the first thing you get is detachment abilities. Now, if your entire army is Black Templars, you get the Templar Vows. You choose one and it lasts for the entire battle. But you get to choose it after reading the mission. So that's the read mission briefing step. So that is after, you've gone to a tournament. So you'll submit your army roster. You'll get to the table and you know which mission it is. Then you can choose a vow, which is fairly handy. But for this to be your super buff, like your entire army has to be Black Templars, I don't think they're quite worth that unless you're going to do some specific builds. So personally, there are only 2 vows which I think are worth it. So I'm just going to tell you about those 2. The first one is Suffer Not the Unclean to Live. The vow, each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack against a non-vehicle unit, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 automatically wounds the target. Great against big stuff or elite stuff. Toughness 5 or more that you have to wound on 5s, toughness 8 or more that you have to wound on 6s, those kind of things. At least the hit rolls of 6 just auto wound and you don't have to roll the wound rolls. Really helps. But the passion is that each time this unit is selected to charge, the closest enemy non-aircraft unit within 12 and not within engagement range of any of the Black Templars units must be declared as a target of the charge. So that's a fairly decent downside, but you got to remember, as soon as one unit makes a charge, that closest unit will now be in engagement range of them, so the next one can go for something else. You can manipulate around the passion, but the vow is fairly good. But the best one, in my opinion, is Uphold the Honor of the Emperor. So while the vow is in effect, models in this unit have a 5+ invulnerable save, and each time an attack is made, unmodified wound rolls of 1 and 2 never wound you. So it's like a baby transhuman. It means that but you have to run a specific build, like I was saying. If you're running 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts and then 3 units of Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans, then that is the way to do this. Because then Strength 8+ that normally wound you on 2s are actually wounding you on a 3+, because 1s and 2s can't wound you, which is really nice for the Vanguard Veterans. But then the Redemptors can run around with 5+ invulnerable saves for free, essentially. So that is a fantastic vow. Right, next we're going to talk about stratagems. So there are 3 or 4 which I think are very good. The rest are a bit meh, and some are just terrible. But we're going to talk about the ones that are brilliant. So the first one is Devout Push, the first stratagem in the book. It's 1 command point, and it's incredible. It's used at the start of the fight phase, and you select 1 Black Templars core or character unit from your army and select one of the following abilities. Either, if that unit is not within engagement range of an enemy unit, you can make a normal move of up to 3 inches with that unit, and it must end this move either closer to the closest enemy unit or closer to the closest objective marker. So that's the first one. Or, if that unit is within engagement range of an enemy units, you can make a pile-in move with that unit. Now, that doesn't seem too great. Oh, you can make a pile-in. I already get to pile-in. But what happens if you've just about made a charge and the back guy in your unit is 7 inches away? When he piles in, he won't be able to strike. So you use this stratagem for 1 CP, and all of a sudden, he gets to pile in 3 inches. Then when you fight with the unit, he gets to pile in again another 3 inches. And all of a sudden, your 10-man unit has all gotten within engagement range of the enemy, and all of them are fighting. That's fantastic. And the other great use for the first section is that if you're hidden in a ruin that's central to the battlefield, like in the middle of the battlefield, the stratagem is used at the start of the fight phase. So you can use it in your opponent's fight phase. If they're not within engagement of anyone, in your opponent's fight phase, you can go 3 inches forward, closer to your enemy, and then move 12 inches in your movement phase if they're Vanguard veterans, say, and charge something. So Devout Push is incredible. The next good one is Bombastic Delivery. Now, this is my favorite one. Not just for the name, bombastic, you know, but it's fantastic. Bombastic fantastic. It's 2 CPs, and use this stratagem in your command phase when you select a Black Templars Chaplain unit to recite a litany. 1 litany that unit recites this phase is automatically inspiring. You don't need to roll the dice, and that unit can recite 1 additional litany during this phase. So that's incredible. It doesn't stop you from reciting any more litanies, and it lets you do an additional litany. So for 2 command points, you can automatically recite 1 litany and then get 2 more litanies off that turn on a 2+ if he's a Master of Sanctity. The rest of the really good stratagems, guys, one is called Revered Repositories. It lets you select a Sergeant or Sword Brother model from your army, and they can have a relic from a specified list. But you've got to combo that with another stratagem called Champion of the Feast, which is 1 CP, and it lets you choose a Sergeant or a Sword Brother, and they can have +1 attack, +1 to their wounds characteristic, and +1 to their weapon skill characteristic. So that's incredible. You've got a guy with +1 wound, +1 attack, +1 weapon skill, and a relic in a unit. So you essentially have a character who's got loads of ablative wounds from the other models in his squad. So that's amazing. You also have Abhor the Witch for 1 CP, which is roll a dice, and on a 4+, a psychic power within 24 inches is automatically denied, which is incredible. I know it's only a 50-50 chance, but for 1 CP, that's a 50-50 chance that you could just change the game in certain situations. Tenacious Assault, it's okay. You know, it stops an enemy infantry or beast unit that cannot fly from falling back. So it's very situational in the first place. And then on top of that, it's only on a 4+. But the one reason I don't like this is you could base your turn and what's going to happen in return of what you do in your opponent's turn off the fact that this unit cannot fall back, and then on a 50-50 they'll be able to fall back, and it could just throw your whole game plan down the bin. So I wouldn't rely on this stratagem. Strength of Conviction, however, is the last one I want to talk about, and this is so powerful. 1 command point. Use this stratagem in your command phase. Select 1 Black Templars core unit from your army. Not infantry, just any Black Templars core unit from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, that unit has the Objective Secured ability. And this is 1 command point. It doesn't have to be near a character or anything like that. So you can make, say, a Vanguard veteran unit, a Blade Guard veteran unit, even a Redemptor Dreadnought Objective Secured until your next command phase, which is so powerful. Next, we're on to relics. There are some brilliant relics in this book. So there are 3 that I think are above the rest. The first one is the Crusader's Helm. Now, the Crusader's Helm, you add 3 inches to the range of the bearer's aura abilities, which is incredible anyway, because a lot of the characters give like reroll 1s to hit, reroll 1s to wound, all of that kind of stuff. So it's amazing to have an additional 3 inches on the aura abilities of the bearer. But also, in your command phase, you can select 1 friendly Black Templars core unit within 9 inches of the bearer, and until the start of your next command phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, the Assault Doctrine is considered to be active for that attack instead of the currently active doctrine. So if you've got these combat units like Blade Guard and Vanguard, I know I keep talking about Blade Guard, Vanguard and Redemptors, but that is genuinely the way to go with this army. So when I'm saying the best thing about the Black Templars book, consider it around building your list around those units. Chaplains, Chapter Masters, Sword Brethren possibly, Blade Guard, Vanguard and Redemptors. That is how you want to build this list. And this makes a unit of Vanguard or Redemptor AP -3 or -4. Just put them in the Assault Doctrine and zoom off there. And the fantastic thing is it happens in the command phase. And it's a core unit within 9 inches. So if you're within 9 inches of the bearer at the start of your command phase, he'll just make that unit be in the Assault Doctrine And after that, they can go off to wherever they want to go and smack the hell out of something. So that's a fantastic relic. The next one I want to talk about is my favorite one. It's called Ancient Breviary. How many times have you tried to recite a litany with a chaplain and failed? On a 1 or a 2, or you've got a Master of Sanctity and you're like, oh yeah, all my litanies go off on 2s, and yet you still roll a 1 in that key turn when you need to get your litany off, and you cannot re-roll a litany anymore with a command point. It's so gutting. And if you're in the same position as me, then Ancient Breviary is the relic for you. Chaplain model only. Each time a roll is made to determine if a litany is recited by the bearer is inspiring, each time a roll is made, roll 1 additional d6 and discard the lowest result. So if you've got a Master of Sanctity and he's trying to, inspire his litanies, they happen on a 2+. Here, you get to roll 2d6, and as long as one of them is a 2+, that litany will be inspiring. I know I need this. This is fantastic. It means 35 out of 36 times your litanies are going to go off. That's incredible and so reliable when their litanies are brilliant. And I'm going to walk you through their litanies and you'll understand just exactly why I'm saying this relic is so good. But just before that, I'm going to tell you about the third relic that I think is amazing. And that is the Sword of Judgment. Now, the Sword of Judgment is great because you remember the relic list that I told you about when you use the stratagem to give one of your sergeants a relic? The Sword of Judgment is among those relics. So you give this to a sergeant that has a master-crafted power sword. So that is a Blade Guard veteran sergeant. If you use the Champion of the Feast on him, he'll have 4 wounds. He'll have 6 attacks on the charge. He'll have weapon skill of 2+, and then he'll be strength 7, -3, flat 3 damage with the Sword of Judgment. That is a beast of a character by any Codex's standards in the middle of a unit. So that relic is the third one I wanted to talk about, and it's just phenomenal. But if you want a survivable character, then Tannhauser's Bones is also wicked. Each time an attack is allocated to the bearer, the damage characteristic of that attack is changed to 1. Not changed down by 1, but changed to 1. You could get hit by a flat 6 damage weapon and only take 1 damage. So if you're looking for a character that's going to stand his own and be really annoying for your opponent to shift, that's the relic to go for. The Warlord Traits in the new Black Templars book really let me down, guys. I was so looking forward to them getting some really cool ones, but they actually haven't. The best ones of the list are looking to be like Oathkeeper, which is the fact that your Warlord can perform a heroic intervention within 6 inches of enemy units rather than 3. Epitome of Piety is half decent. In your opponent's psychic phase, this Warlord can attempt to deny 1 psychic power as if it were a psyker, and you add 1 to deny the witch test taken for this Warlord. That's decent because other than the stratagem that just shuts a power off on a 4+, you don't have any psychic defense. So I suppose it gives you an option in that case, but it's nothing special. And my favorite one, to be honest with you, is Master of Arms, because not only does it give your Warlord the ability to fight first in the fight phase, but also you add 1 to this Warlord's attacks characteristic. Now, I think it's nice because you can combo it with stuff. You know, you can use the Heir of Sigismund stratagem for 1 CP to give your Warlord an additional Warlord trait, but it's got to be a Black Templars one. And at that point, you can kind of go, right, well, I want a smashy character, one that really hits hard in combat. So I'm going to take Imperium Sword to give him +1 strength and attack. And then for 1 CP, I can give him Master of Arms and give him another +1 attack. So all of a sudden, your Warlord has got +1 strength and +2 attacks. So for me, that's the best Warlord trait, but it's nothing special at all. One of the final 2 things that I want to talk about is Relic Bearers. So if your army includes any Black Templars chaplains, then you can use the upgrades listed below. Now, these are the upgrades that you have to increase the power rating of your unit and pay points for, that, you know, is in every new codex. And I think this is brilliant because having a chaplain unit in your army lets you unlock these. But for each Black Templars infantry or biker unit in your army, excluding characters, you can give that unit one of these upgrades. And you give it to one model in the squad, so most of the time it's going to be on your sergeant, but basically the sergeant gets this ability that you're paying points for. Now, there are two on here that I think are better than the rest. The first one is Sigismund's Seal. I think this one is incredible. And Sigismund's Seal is 20 points. So this is the most expensive one because it is the best. At the start of the first battle round, select one enemy unit that is on the battlefield. Until the end of the battle, each time a melee attack is made by this model's unit, the entire unit, against that enemy unit, you can reroll the hit roll and you can reroll the wound roll. Now that is so powerful. Imagine using this on the 5-man Blade Guard unit that you've got in your army, where the sergeant is that guy that you've given +1 weapon skill, +1 attack, +1 wound, and you use Champion of the Feast to give him the Relic sword, the flat 3 damage sword. Imagine that entire squad, including that sergeant, has full rerolls to hit and wound against one specific unit in your opponent's army. You know, if they've bought something big like an Imperial Knight, that could be absolutely massive. That could be the thing that's the difference between you losing and winning that game. And the second one is the Icon of Heinemann. I think that one is incredible. Each time an attack with an armor penetration characteristic of -1 or -2 is allocated to this model, that attack has an armor penetration characteristic of 0 instead. And the Icon of Heinemann is only 15 points. So you can basically spend 15 points and not put this on the sergeant in a squad, but put it on another member of the squad that, you know, is maybe a Vanguard veteran with a storm shield. So he's got a 2+ armor save. Ignoring AP 1 and 2 could be very big in that squad, and it could keep him alive 2, maybe even 3 times longer than usual. And that just helps keep other members of the squad alive for only 15 points. So those are the two that I think are the best. But there is one that you can combo with the final thing that I'm going to talk about. And the one you can combo is called the Bones of Mordred. Now, the Bones of Mordred is only a 10-point upgrade. Each time this model makes a melee attack, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage. Now, if you were to use Champion of the Feast on a Vanguard veteran sergeant with 2 lightning claws, he gets 3 attacks base, 4 for charging, 5 for the first lightning claw, and 6 for the second lightning claw. And each time he rolls a 6 to wound, bearing in mind he has full rerolls to wound for having 2 lightning claws, he does a mortal wound on the target in addition to normal damage. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is the Litanies of the Devout. Now, we're going to start off talking about 2 litanies, which personally I think are the best ones because they're force multipliers. And then we're going to talk about one which makes your character really good. So the 2 that are force multipliers, because we've just talked about the Bones of Mordred. Remember, we just spoke about the Bones of Mordred and how your sergeant can inflict mortal wounds on the enemy on every unmodified 6 to wound. Now, if you were to use Fires of Devotion Litany on that unit, then each time that unit fights, if it made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention this turn, then until that fight is resolved, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of models in that unit. So now that sergeant has got 7 attacks, but that's not it. You can also do the Psalm of Remorseless Persecution. So remember how I was saying you want that chaplain to have the relic that means you roll 2 dice to get your litanies off, and as long as one of them is a 2+, because you'll have a Master of Sanctity, they go off. The other ability that a Master of Sanctity has is that he can do 2 litanies in a turn. So you can do Fires of Devotion to give it a unit +1 attack in the command phase, and then also in the command phase you can do Psalm of Remorseless Persecution. You select a core unit within 6 inches, so like a Vanguard veteran unit, and each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage. A unit can suffer a maximum of 6 mortal wounds per phase as the result of this ability. So with the Bones of Mordred, you can do up to however many mortal wounds you've got attacks on that character, on that sergeant, because there's no limit to that. But he's got 7 attacks. Now, if he's going in there with 7 attacks, say he's got you know, full rerolls to hit from a chapter master or something, he's going to get like 6 or 7 hits. Then out of that, he should roll 1/6 to wound, which would now do 2 mortal wounds with the Bones of Mordred and the Psalm of Remorseless Persecution. That 6 will do 2 mortal wounds in addition to normal damage. But then just re-roll all the others that aren't a 6 because he's got Lightning Claws. So he should get 2 6s, which is 4 mortal wounds from him alone. But only 2 of those mortal wounds have been done as a result of this litany, meaning the rest of the unit could do up to 4 additional mortal wounds. So averagely, this unit should do 8 mortal wounds. Averagely, if it's got the Bones of Mordred and you do the Psalm of Remorseless Persecution. How many units you go into where they've got a 1-up save or, you know, a 0+ save with Bullgrin and stuff like that, and you just run up to them and kind of bounce off them even with -2 on like Vanguard veterans. But now you go, bang, take 8 mortal wounds in addition to the damage as well. That's really gonna hurt people. And the final litany I wanted to talk to you guys about was the Oath of Glory. So if this litany is inspiring, at the start of the fight phase, if this priest model is within engagement range of any enemy units, it can fight first. But also, each time it makes an attack with a Crozius, an Artificer Crozius, or a relic that replaces one of these, like the Benediction of Fury flat 3 damage Crozius, then an unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores 2 additional hits. So every 6 is 3 hits. And you add one to the strength characteristic of this priest model. So that just makes the chaplain himself an absolute monster. So those are the things that I think are the best things about the new Black Templars Codex. I'm not covering the specific Black Templars units in the book because those are just data sheets you can look at yourself. I just wanted to tell you about all the tips and tricks that will make you have a really solid Black Templars army on the battlefield. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button, notifications bell in the corner over there so you know each time I release one of these videos. And if you would like more exclusive content or you would like to support the channel and have amazing discounts on our web store, then head over to glasshammergaming.co.uk and join the elite. Until next time, guys, have a good week. Bye.